You lose your internet connection for exactly 4 minutes, and your brain immediately enters a state of existential emergency. You check the Wi-Fi router, you restart your phone, and when that fails, you seriously consider reading the ingredients on your shampoo bottle or starting a conversation with your houseplant. You assume this desperate itch for stimulation is just a normal human trait. But a caveman from 30,000 BC would look at your 4-minute panic and diagnose you with a severe brain disability. Your prehistoric ancestor could sit on a damp rock staring at a blank canyon wall for 6 hours without a single podcast, notification, or urge to check their inbox. To them, that silence contains something your brain has almost completely lost. And the weird part is that losing it may be the reason you feel anxious today. To understand why your ancestor was the undisputed king of doing absolutely nothing, you have to look at how they actually got their dinner. You might romanticize the Stone Age as a non-stop action movie of hunting mammoths and dodging saber-toothed cats, but prehistoric hunting was mostly just waiting. A hunter would lie face down in the mud behind a dry bush for 6 hours, barely breathing, just waiting for a deer to walk by. If they sneezed, checked their surroundings, or shifted their weight, the deer would run, and the family would starve. Their face would swell up like a balloon as they fought the urge to sneeze, but they stayed perfectly still. In the Paleolithic, survival was 95% waiting in silence and 5% running for your life. Your ancestors did not just tolerate the silence, they depended on it. Your brain burns 20% of your daily energy just existing, which is like running a small refrigerator inside your skull. You assume you are saving that energy by lying on your couch and scrolling through your phone. You are not. Your brain still burns that same fridge load of power. The difference is that your prehistoric ancestors spent their energy budget tracking one single task, deciding if a leaf moved because of a breeze or a venomous snake. They rarely had to split their attention across dozens of unrelated problems. You, however, spend that same energy tracking 60 browser tabs at once, attempting to solve 400 fake problems at 2 in the morning. This mismatch has turned you into a dopamine junkie who would literally rather suffer physical pain than spend 15 minutes with your own thoughts. In 2014, social psychologist Timothy Wilson of the University of Virginia published a study in Science showing that 67% of men and 25% of women chose to voluntarily administer electric shocks to themselves rather than sit alone with their thoughts for 15 minutes. Imagine sitting in a blank, quiet room. There are no screens, no books, just a single red button that delivers a painful shock. After 3 minutes of silence, you scream, slam the button, get electrocuted until your face is charred, and sigh in relief. This number means you would literally choose physical pain over a quarter hour of quiet reflection. The reason your ancestors did not need to shock themselves to stay sane is that their silence was never truly empty. In the ancestral forest, silence was a high-definition stream of data. Your ancestor's brain was constantly processing the 3D acoustic map of the jungle. A sudden silence from the birds meant a predator was near. A distant snap of a twig meant food. Their brain was fully engaged, active, and alive, even when they were not moving. Today, when you turn off your phone, your brain is still wired to scan the environment for survival data. But instead of birds and predators, you hear the hum of the refrigerator, the hum of the traffic, and the distant bark of a dog. Your predictive brain gets confused by these dead, empty sounds. With no real threats to solve, it starts hallucinating problems. It starts obsessing over social status, hypothetical arguments, and what your boss meant by that email. To see how deep your attention decay goes, compare how you handle simple delays. Picture your prehistoric ancestor sitting by a dark rabbit hole. Hour 3. Nothing happens. Hour 5. nothing happens. Hour 6, a rabbit finally appears. Dinner is served, and they are perfectly content. Now look at you. You wait 8 seconds for a YouTube video to load, throw your phone onto the couch in a fit of rage, and declare modern civilization completely broken. The average modern person checks their phone over 100 times a day, meaning you are constantly interrupting your own thoughts. Prehistoric humans, meanwhile, sometimes stared at the same empty landscape longer than you watch an entire Netflix season. Our brains did not evolve to be constantly bombarded by external signals. In the wild, your ancestor's brain was optimized for low-frequency, high-stakes information. You could spend all day walking through the silent savanna, experiencing no updates, no pings, and no changes. A prehistoric hunter could spend longer simply watching animal tracks age in the dirt than you spend watching an entire season of television. Your brain was in a state of relaxed, active observation. Today, we have flipped this equation. You live in an environment of high-frequency, low-stakes information. You are exposed to more notifications, headlines, and advertisements in a single afternoon than a Paleolithic hunter would encounter in their entire lifetime. Your brain is not broken. It is simply drowning in a flood of artificial data it was never built to filter. And the most perfectly engineered delivery system for this flood is sitting in your pocket right now. The smartphone is the ultimate evolutionary trap because it behaves like an infinite virtual bush. In the wild, your ancestors' attention was triggered by a rustling leaf because it meant food or danger. Your phone mimics this exact mechanism. Every ping, vibration, and red dot is a digital rustling leaf. Your brain, still running 30,000-year-old hardware, thinks, "Ooh, a deer," or "a tiger," and releases a tiny splash of dopamine to force you to look. But instead of a deer, you get a meme. Instead of a tiger, you get a political tweet. Your brain is permanently stuck in a high-alert hunting mode that never ends, hunting for notifications that never satisfy, and burning out your neural circuits in the process. Modern medicine has reduced infant mortality by over 90% since the Paleolithic. You have instant access to global knowledge, and you no longer freeze to death in winter. These are real wins. Nobody is suggesting we throw away our technology and live in caves to hunt rabbits. A caveman, after all, had to deal with saber-toothed tigers, dental infections without anesthetics, and a life expectancy of 35 years. Nature was not a peaceful retreat. It was a meat grinder. But while we have conquered physical survival, we have surrendered our mental sovereignty. We have traded the dangers of the wild for the comfort of a digital cage, and your brain is paying the price. The way out is not to throw your phone into a river, but to learn how to step out of the virtual bush. You need to retrain your brain to tolerate the silence. Try sitting in a room for 10 minutes without checking your inbox. Walk outside without a podcast running in your ears. Let your mind wander until it stops hallucinating threats and starts finding peace. The silence is not a void that needs to be filled with noise. It is the space where your brain finally gets to rest. 30,000 years ago, your ancestors survived 6 hours of silence to catch dinner. Today, you struggle to survive 6 minutes of silence while sitting in a heated room. The scary part is not that your brain changed, it's that it didn't. Put the phone down and let your inner caveman rest. What is the longest you have gone without looking at a screen? Tell me in the comments. I read everything.